Alright, so the trailer in question here, this is not my trailer. So, long story here, a guy I know that put the roof on my house here was looking for some utility poles, telephone poles, electric poles, whatever. I guess to make boards out of them or something. And so I asked him, well, what are you looking for? Let me know. And he said somewhere between 10, 12 feet long, 12 of them or so. So I talked to our crew lead and he's like, yep, I'll just make 12 of them 12 feet long. I said, okay, sounds good. So I called the guy back, said, hey, drop your trailer off or whatever and I'll load it up. So this trailer he shows up with has a 3,500 pound axle. And I aired the tires up. I got them up to 50 psi because I was kind of nervous because this trailer seemed really heavy. And then I checked the tag here. Most trailers should have a tag like this. And the capacity of the trailer is 1,380 pounds. So that's not much. And you're going to say, well, it's a 3,500 pound axle. I should be able to put 3,500 pounds on. Not necessarily. So I had a 3,500 pound axle on a 5x8 trailer and I could put 2,500 pounds on it, but I didn't have the tubing. I had angle iron and my sides weren't as high, and I didn't have all this wood. This trailer is really, really heavy. And this trailer here is a 12 foot, so it's longer. It's got a really short tongue too, which makes for some interesting backing, but it's really heavy, so you don't have the capacity. So my initial thought was, oh yeah, we'll just throw the 12 poles in there and we'll be fine. And then I was like, I don't know about that. So I talked with our crew lead and I said, well, how much does a pole weigh? Like a 12-foot pole? I said, is it 800 pounds? How heavy are they? I have no idea. He said, oh, I don't know. You could handle it with 3 people. He's like, 2 would be a challenge, but 3 could handle it. Like, well, that doesn't really explain much. So I said, well, we're not going to put all 12 on. I said, let's just put 6 on there. That should be fine. So when I got down to pick the trailer up, he had loaded, so the ones that make it to the end here are 12. There's 3 12s on here. That's a 16. There was another 16 and a 19 on this trailer. And I was like, holy smokes, that looks like a lot of weight. And when I looked at the tire on the side, the tire was completely up in the fender, and I couldn't get my finger between the fender and the tire, which I can barely do now. So I was like, that's no good. I got to pull some off. So I pulled the 19 off and I pulled the 16 off, and we ran like this. So, and then I did some research to see what a pole weighs, and what I came up with is every foot of a pole you should figure about 31 pounds. Hopefully with that calculation you shouldn't go over. So what this combination of the load that I have right now with my figure, I should have 1,612 pounds on. So we're over to 1,300 pounds, but we're not way over. What we had on here with the extra 16 and the 19 was 2,697 pounds, which I said that's quite a bit. And had we had just 6 12-foot poles, the weight would have been 2,232 pounds. And if we had 12 footers on here, we would have been at 4,464 pounds. So just for reference, like I said, that 31 pounds is what I'm using per foot as a calculation. So a 12 footer should weigh about 372 pounds. A 16 should weigh about 496. And that 19 footer would have been 589 pounds. So that in itself was 600 pounds. And I can tell you that 19 was much bigger than this. It was probably at the small end like that. So if you're picking up poles, one, make sure you got a really, really sturdy trailer, because they don't look heavy, but they add up pretty quickly. And like this one here, I don't know if this is Douglas fir or what this is, but obviously you can tell that's a heavy piece. I mean, it's not dried out. That must have been towards the bottom of the electric pole. Whereas this one here, you can tell this must have been towards the top, or maybe this was the top. It's all dried out. And that one's much smaller. So when you get towards the base of those poles, they get really heavy. So if you are going to pick up poles, I would suggest at least a tandem axle trailer, because it doesn't take much to get way overweight. And I know one of the linemen one night had loaded up a tandem axle trailer, and it was like some sort of odd combination. It was a real narrow trailer, real long, with some sort of funky tandem axle. It must have been like an older type axle. It wasn't a Dexter. And he had that thing just absolutely heaped with poles. And he was pulling it with a Ram 2500 that had airbags in the back. And the truck was squatting in the back, something terrible. And he's like, holy smokes. He's like, the truck has never looked like this. And I didn't really, you know, care too much about it because it wasn't my truck or trailer. But he's like, well, I'm not going too far. And I'm like, you better air those tires up, because the tires were like just absolutely squatted out. So he aired the tires up, and he also checked all the lug nuts on the wheels because it looked extremely overweight. And I would have guessed he probably had, I don't know, probably somewhere between 12 or 16 poles on that trailer. And they were like, I don't know, probably 20s. The trailer was really long and narrow, and he had them just heaped in there. So he had probably 5,000 pounds worth of weight or more on that trailer. It was a lot. So hopefully that helps. Like I said, I think 31 pounds is probably a pretty good number. There are some poles that are way bigger in diameter if you're talking like the real super tall poles, but most of these were probably like somewhere between 20 and 40 feet long. So those aren't real tall poles. But some of those bigger poles, they could be twice the diameter of that one real easy. They got just a monster down there at their site or whatever. So, all right, that's gonna be it for now.